Hi, I read 43 books this year and I want to tell you about every single one that I read. So I started getting into reading right after I graduated college last year, and I know it's not a ton compared to like all the other book YouTubers who read like 60, 70, 80 books in a year, but I still read a lot, I think. And so I want to talk about each one. I read fiction, nonfiction, romance, autobiography, memoirs, classics, all those kinds of things. And so I read a good variety of books, and I want to talk about every single one really quickly and give my review. I'm not going to go in any particular order. I have a fat stack of books inside a giant laundry basket to hold all of them, so I'm just going to pick them and talk about them. The first book in the pile is The Let Them Theory by Mel Robbins. I really like this. I read it in one sitting, but I feel like you could probably get what you got out of this book from listening to her podcast. And yeah, so I gave it 3.5 stars. Next thing I read is the autobiography of Malcolm X. This is my dad's copy. He tells me every Black person should read it, so he gave it to me, and I read it, and it was incredible. I recommend reading this book. I recommend to everyone. I recommend this to everyone. I gave it 5 stars. I was a sociology major in college, so a lot of this stuff that he talked about was a lot similar to the things that I studied. So it wasn't super new to me, but it was still a really good book. And Alex Haley did a wonderful job with interviewing him and writing this autobiography. So I totally recommend this. 5 stars. The next book I read was The Wild Woman's Way, Unlock Your Full Potential for Pleasure, Power, and Fulfillment by Michaela Boehm. I gave this 3.5 stars. I read it, but I didn't really retain any of the information that I was reading. I'm really into like feminist literature and like contemporary feminism, and so I read this book, and I feel like some of the other books I read did a better job at explaining what this book was all about, kind of, if that makes any sense. So I gave it 3 stars. The next book in the realm of what I was talking about is Women Who Run with the Wolves. I loved this book. It just tells stories of wild women, rebel women, all kinds of women, and the myths and legends behind them and what you can learn from these. And I really loved it. I think it is so good, and I recommend any women who's interested in like feminism or just women in general, just like the soul of a woman, like you should totally read this. So I gave it 5 stars. Next book I read this in an hour. It's Practicing the Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle. Tolle? I'm gonna go with Tolle. But I read this in an hour. It's very much about being present in the moment, meditation, dealing with what's going on in the moment. And I read it, I understood it, I took it in, but it didn't change my life or anything, so I gave it 4 stars. The next book I read was The 7 Spiritual Laws of Success by Deepak Chopra. I loved this book. It's not like, when I saw 7 Spiritual Laws of Success, I thought it was like some money, finance, bro type shit, but no, this book was incredible. I gave it 5 stars, probably one of the best books I read this year. I also like learning about spirituality. I got into like a manifestation phase where I wanted to learn all about it, and this was one of the first books I read about it. And so I recommend this 100%, 5 stars. The next book is The Ultimate Happiness Prescription by Deepak Chopra. Not as good as The 7 Spiritual Laws of Success, but still a really good book. I wanted to read more about like happiness and cultivating your own happiness and using your surroundings to cultivate your own happiness, and I think that this did a really good job conveying that and talking about it. I gave it 3.5 stars. Again, as I said before, I got on a manifestation studying kick, and I read Ask and It Is Given, Learning to Manifest Your Desire by Esther and Jerry Hicks. This was pretty good. I was more reading just to see what the whole thing was about and like if this was truly like something that was like actually going on, because I had a phase where I thought I was manifesting everything. And so I read this. It was okay. I gave it a 3 star. If you're into manifestation or reading, I don't know if I would recommend this. It's not something you absolutely need to read, but I just read it because I was recommended it by Reddit. The next book I read was Women's Intuition, Unlocking the Wisdom of the Body. Didn't really like this guidebook kind of, but there wasn't a ton of like information for me to like grasp and understand and like apply. And so I gave it a 2 star, unfortunately. The next book, I fucking hated this book. The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck by Mark Manson. I'm sorry, I hated this book. I know so many people love this book, but I didn't get anything from it. I thought it was a waste of my time, and I didn't understand the concepts of what he was talking about. I feel like I could listen to a podcast or read a different book about letting things go and not caring what people think and doing things that scare you and all things like that. I think I could read a book that's better than this on that subject. I did not like this book, and I'm so sorry, but I'm also not sorry. So I gave it 0 stars or 1 star if you're not allowed to do 0 stars. So don't read this. I'm sorry. The next book, similar to Women's Intuition, was The Intuitive Way, The Definitive Guide to Increasing Your Awareness. Seemed like a guidebook. Didn't really like it. Didn't really gain anything from it. Not very impressed, so I gave it 2 stars. Then I started reading romance books because I read The Love Hypothesis by Ali Hazelwood, because everyone starts off with that book when they start reading romance, and it did it for me. I fucking love that book. And so I read Love on the Brain. She has a formula. Ali Hazelwood has a formula, and it works, so I gave this 5 stars. Loved it. The next book I read was A Return to Love, Reflections on the Principles, A Course in Miracles by Marianne Williamson. I thought this book was really good. It talked a little bit about her life and her lessons that she learned from it, and just love in general, and how you can apply love to all areas of your life, just not romantic love. Love emitting from you and surrounding yourself with people you love and things you love and environments you love and things like that. And so I thought this was really good. It is a little woo-woo, like kind of religious, and I'm not religious, but I still liked it. I still really liked it, so I gave it 4 stars. The next book I read was How to Love by this author. I don't want to butcher the name, but it was really sweet. It was read it in an hour, had just little passages. It wasn't really like a book. It was more just like small passages with little drawings, and I thought it was cute. I'm really into like relationship books and like loving, I'm just really into relationship type books, even though I've never been in a relationship. I just think they're interesting. And so I read this in an hour, and it was really cute. So I gave it 4 stars. Now we're getting into something I devoured. I read the Once Upon a Broken Heart series by Stephanie Garber. I read the first book in 1 sitting, and then I read the second book in 1 sitting, and then I read the third book in 2 sittings because I didn't want it to end. Second book is definitely the best book. I love Evangeline Jacks. This is what really got me into reading. Like, I don't like fantasy. I'm so sorry. I don't like fantasy at all. But this is like the exception. This is the exception, and I loved it. And so I gave the whole series 5 stars. The third book I gave 4 stars, but the first 2 were definitely a 5-star. But 5-star series, highly recommend. The next 2 books I read by Bob Doyle, Wealth Beyond Reason and Follow Your Passion, Find Your Power. I really liked this book. Bob Doyle is in the movie, The Secret, the movie, and in the book. And so he's like kind of a manifestation dude, and I was in my manifestation phase. And this one was so good. It's literally about finding your passion, following your power. Like, it's good. It's really good. I really liked it. It wasn't so much about manifestation. It was just kind of like motivational and inspiring, and I really liked it, so I give it 5 stars. And then the second one was Wealth Beyond Reason by Bob Doyle. I thought this was like some like finance bro type shit because it said wealth beyond reason, but it was really just a manifestation book about how to create the life that you want, and I really liked it. So I also gave this 4 stars, I'm pretty sure. And on my manifestation phase, I read The Power of Your Subconscious Mind by Joseph Murphy because everybody talks about this book. I was on Reddit and everyone talks about this book. Too many religious references for me. I know this is like the staple manifestation book, but I just didn't really like it. I gave it 3 stars, 2.5 stars. So moving on, as I said, I studied sociology in college, and so I read The Wretched of the Earth by Frantz Fanon. This is about colonization, settler colonialism, imperialism. I read this in 3 days. I read a couple of chapters of this in school for a couple of my classes, for like 2 classes, and I just wanted to read the whole book. And it has a foreword by Cornel West, and I just thought it was really good. So definitely recommend if you're into sociology or like history or things like that, like I am. So definitely recommend it. I gave it 5 stars. The next book is Awareness, The Perils of Opportunity and Reality by Anthony DeMello. I hated this book. I'm so sorry. It it felt like a narcissist was writing this, and maybe he is a narcissist. I don't know who he is, but I did not like it. 1 star. Don't read this. I'm so sorry. Again, on my manifestation phase, everyone talks about Dr. Joe Dispenza. Is he really a doctor? I don't know. But I read You Are the Placebo, Making Your Mind Matter. This had a lot of the scientific kind of brain things about manifestation, and I wasn't really into that. I'm more into like the spiritual type of vibe with it. And so I read this in like 2 weeks because it wasn't really entertaining. I would give it 3 stars. If you're like into manifestation, you want to read, I would recommend it, but it's not super impactful in any way. So I gave it 3 stars. Next book, I really like this book, The 8 Rules of Love by Jay Shetty. I know he wrote Think Like a Monk, which I haven't read, but this was really good. This was really, really good. He talks a little bit about his self and his wife, and he talks about learning to love yourself and learning to love being alone, which I love being alone. I was really happy to read that in the book because I love being alone. And it's like how to find it, how to keep it, how to let it go. 5 stars, 5 stars. Loved it. Definitely recommend reading it if you're into like relationships and like self-help and those kinds of things. Also on my manifestation phase was Change Your Thoughts, Change Your Mind by Dr. Wayne Dyer. Did not like this book. I skimmed through it because I was getting tired of it halfway through. 2 stars. Not much else to say about it. Then I read The Mastery of Love by Don Miguel Ruiz. I read The 4 Agreements and I really liked it, and The Mastery of Love was really good. I, again, love spirituality, self-help. I thought it was really good. 5 stars. I liked how it felt. I liked the way he wrote it. I felt like he put a lot of care into this book, and I could like feel it when I was reading it, and so I really liked it. So 5 stars. Deepak Chopra book I read was 20 Spiritual Lessons for Creating the Life You Want, The Way of the Wizard. I don't remember much about this book. Again, the 7 Spiritual Laws of Success was like a 5 star. I think this was like a 4 star. I just like Deepak Chopra. I like what he writes. I like the way he thinks. He is very special to me. And he has so many books. I read maybe like 5 of them, but he has like 30 books. And so this one was pretty good. So 4 stars. Then I read a classic. I read The Alchemist in an hour. It was really good. I want to read it again just to kind of like get the vibes again, get the lessons again. I thought it was really good. So 5 stars. I think everyone should read this because it's a classic book. It takes an hour. It's not super long. So, and I love the cover. So yeah. I read The Power of Awareness by Neville Goddard. Everyone talks about Neville Goddard again on my manifestation bullshit. It was okay. I don't really remember much about it. I think the Bob Doyle books were better about manifestation. I know Neville Goddard and Joe Dispenza and Joseph Murphy are like the kings, the holy trinity of manifestation. But for some reason, I just wasn't feeling it. Wasn't feeling this book. So 2.5 stars. I read my 3rd Ali Hazelwood book, Not in Love. This was just erotica, low-key. Very spicy, which I don't mind, but it was just a lot. And not my favorite Ali Hazelwood book, but I still gave it like 5 stars because I love her writing and she just does it for me every time. This book was really good. It's by Carol S. Pearson, Persephone Rising, Awakening the Heroine Within. It talks about Persephone, Zeus, Demeter, the lore, basically the legends, the lore, and what you can learn from them as a woman. And I really liked this book. And she talks a little bit about her life too. I really liked this book. I think I was into like Greek mythology for a long time a few years ago, and then I saw this. And there's this other book called Goddesses Within that I want to read. It's in my cart on Amazon. But this was really good. And if you're like into like feminist literature and also like spirituality and like self-love and growth, I really recommend this book. So 5 stars. My first Emily Henry book, People We Meet on Vacation, it took me like a month to get through. I know everyone raves about Emily Henry, but I wanted to read this. I read it on vacation, but it took me like a month to get through. The first half, I was kind of like, okay, yeah. But then the last half, I was like, wow, this is so good. So I gave it 4 stars. Next, I was on a Bell Hooks kick. I read The Will to Change, Men, Masculinity, and Love, Communion, The Female Search for Love, and All About Love. As you can tell, like I said, I'm into relationship stuff, that kind of thing. And I really liked All About Love. Communion, The Female Search for Love was really good. I think this one was my favorite, and then The Will to Change was my third. Do this 5 stars, 5 stars, 4 stars. I read The 6 Pillars of Self-Esteem by Nathaniel Branden. I really liked this book. It was very sciencey, and I'm not a science person, but I really liked the non-science part of it, and he has so many prompts and questions and guides in here that I felt like you could really use this book if you wanted to do like really deep self-reflection and like introspection. You could literally just get this book, read through the prompts, and do it and learn a lot about yourself, which I haven't done yet, but yeah, I gave this 5 stars. Again, on the manifestation, I read Creative Visualization, Using the Power of Your Imagination to Create What You Want in Life. This was really good. Not the best. Oprah wrote a little thing on the back that says, I've seen in my own life that creative visualization works. And I think it works too. So I would give this book like 4 stars. It was a quick read. I want to read it again. But yeah, 40th anniversary edition. So this book has been around a long time, and I think it was beneficial. So I would recommend reading this. By Emily Ratajkowski, My Body. It's her memoir. She's a model. Everyone knows who she is. But I thought this was really moving. Her life from maybe like age 6 or 7 all the way to when she gives birth to her child. And it's just crazy the life that she lived. And it's really emotional, and it's kind of sad. But the way she words things and the way she writes is really good. And I know that she's very smart. I've seen some of the things she's posted about and some of the essays she's written, and I think this was a really good book. So I recommend to all 5 stars. We're getting down to the last 5 books. I read this early in the year, The Love Hypothesis, 5 stars. Everyone knows about this book. I'm so excited for the movie. So excited for the movie. I was looking at all the behind the scenes stuff. I'm so excited. I love that they casted Lily Reinhart. Recommend this book to all, 5 stars. Then I read my first Lauren Asher book, Terms and Condition. It was a billionaire romance. I loved it. I'm sorry. I really loved it. I love that the main character, Iris, is a Black woman. I think that representation is important. And I really liked it. 4 stars. 4 stars. The next book I read was Men Who Hate Women. As I said, I'm on my feminist bullshit, and this book is all about the manosphere and men who hate women and how that world looks and operates. And she talks about her own experiences with men doing the work that she does, and how she gets death threats all the time and rape threats and things like that. And so it was really important for me to read this, the truth about extreme misogyny and how it affects us all. I did go through my I hate men phase, and I low-key am still in it, and this didn't help, but it was a really eye-opening book. I mean, we're women, we know how men are, but I really liked this book, and so I gave it 5 stars. The last book that I read this year was Bride by Ali Hazelwood. I love this. So far, this is my favorite Ali Hazelwood book I've read. I haven't read Love Theoretically, but everyone talks about how much they love it. But this one is so good. I love Misery. I love Low. I love their chemistry. I loved everything about this book. I'm a Twilight super fan, and the vampires and the werewolf thing, it really got me. So 5 stars. And then the last book I read, which I finished yesterday, was my first technical Penguin classic, which is Dracula by Bram Stoker. I saw the trailer for the Caleb Landry Jones Dracula, and it looked so good, and so I wanted to read the book before the movie came out in theaters in February, I think, in America. And it's nothing like the trailer or the 1992 movie with Winona Ryder. But this was still interesting. It was my first classic, and I gave it 4 stars. So those were all the books I read this year. I'm proud of myself for reading so much. I read this much because I'm unemployed. I graduated college last year, still can't find a job because the job market is ass right now. But I read all these books, and I'm proud of myself for reading so much. I love reading. I forgot how much I love reading because all I do in school is read. I'm a sociology major. Like, all I did was read. And so when I had free time, I did not want to read. But now that I have the free time, I read all these books, and I really liked all of them. So I would recommend several of these books. I could talk so much more about books, but I wanted to keep this video short. This is my first YouTube video. If you have book recommendations, leave them down below. I don't know what I have so many books in my back stock that I want to read that I have already. But I just keep buying more. I keep buying more. So I will update when by the way, I want to read The Count of Monte Cristo so bad, and I think if I read it, I'll do a vlog reading it because it's 1,200 pages. I asked for it for Christmas. I'm an extreme person in a lot of ways, but I really want to read The Count of Monte Cristo. So I think that will be the next book I read this in 2026. But anyway, that was my haul of books that I read this year. I hope you enjoyed. Thank you so much for watching my first ever video. Yeah. Okay, bye.